I am Brad Boot. I live near Outlook, Saskatchewan. Mike, do I have to hold it? It doesn't have an extender, so. Anyways, I am Brad Boot. I live and farm near Outlook, Saskatchewan. Farmed with my dad on a dairy for many years. Um, I guess we got into this when we realized our cows were getting sick. And we had decided that we needed energy in our feed that wasn't on a feed test, but something was missing. Something was missing. And when we run into Cindy, and she's like, "Well, what's the bricks?" Well, we don't feed our cows bricks. Like they don't have that teeth that hard. No, the sugar levels. Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. We started checking, and we were at 3 or 4 bricks. And we're still not at where we want to be, but we're around that 10, getting close. And I tell you what, the cows are doing a lot better. So through that, and through many years of farming and learning and buying seed and doing things, I've learned that seed quality is more important than you think. I also own Prairie Genesis Grains. I started that company 3 years ago, and what we're doing is marketing ancient grains to organic mills. And our goal in that is to be providing people with the same kind of nutrition that we could get to our cows, because we're just all animals in a way, and if they need nutrition, I seen that firsthand. Everybody in this room needs nutrition. So, um, yeah. So I'm going to tell you guys something that every farmer in here, I'm sure, has done a test strip on their own field. It's the only input you cannot do without is seed. We've all done this test strip when the section on the drill plugs, and you leave this nice strip of no seed, and it's always right along the highway so all the neighbors can see. Oh, he screwed up. Huh? Who's done it? Right? But that's the most important. It's the only input you cannot do without. You need to seed. If the fertilizer runs out at the end of the field, what do? You keep seeding to finish the field. But if you run out of seed, what do? You don't keep going because there's no point. So this is a wheat seed. So most seeds have three main parts. You got your outer shell, the endosperm, which is your fuel tank, and your germ, which is your embryo or your small plant that's going to start growing. Now, the brands, it protects the seed from pathogens, disease, whatever. The endosperm is your fuel tank. Now, this is a question for Dr. Tom a little bit too. Do you think that what you put in that fuel tank, the plant that grew that seed and what it put in that fuel tank, do you think that matters? You think the bricks on that plant that grew that seed, do you think that matters? It does, big time. And the germ also. So that's a wheat seed. This is a bean seed, same thing, three main parts. They call them different things: the seed coat, the embryo, and the cotyledon. Same thing, though. You get your protective layer, your fuel tank, and your germ, your embryo. Um, the higher the bricks plant that grew the seed that you are seeding, it's going to put all different kinds of a lot more sucrose in it, or sugar in the cotyledon or the endosperm. It's going to put mineral density in there, but there's also biology. A seed in itself can contain millions of microbes, and that determines, how well the seed gets fed right from the beginning, that determines how well it reacts with your soil. So it's kind of interesting. I found a study where they took an oak tree seed and they planted it into the soil where the oak tree was grown, and they also planted it in the soil from somewhere else, far away. And what they determined was that the germination onset is the first stage in the phenological plant cycle, influenced by abiotic and biotic factors. Both soil and seed microbiota are key drivers of germination, influencing seed storage, dormancy, release, and germination rates. The interactions between plants and soil microbes contribute to the plant adaptation of their environment. Therefore, plants could benefit more from interacting with the soil microbes from its local home environment than with those from other origins. A crucial germination drivers, plants may select for specific microbiota taxa that provide them with a home field advantage, regardless of the microbiological richness and diversity of its surrounding. So it kind of likes growing where it grew. There's some kind of an epigenetic effect and a relationship with those microbes that help it grow in the soil that it originally grew in. Microbes also interact with seed at all stages of plant development. These interactions may be casual or intimate, yet they all contribute to varying degrees of an evolving seed microbiome that may carry over to other development stages. This should not be surprising given the ubiquity of microbes and the many desirable microbial habitats the plants provide. All of these microbes habitats that contribute to the plant microbiome may have significant connections to seed microbiome development. So microbes do play a role. They're a part of the root. They're a part of the plant. They're part of its whole makeup. So my experience. So I thought this was a really good test explanation of what we've done, or example of what I'm trying to say here. In 22, we bought faba bean seed. Um, we were going to do some. We were going to silage some, and we were going to combine harvest some. And we ended up intercropping the stuff that we were going to harvest with spelt. So we seeded at 2.5 bushels an acre, and just 1 bushel an acre of spelt, or it was actually just under that. And when it grew, only half of our faba beans came out of the ground. The germ was supposed to be 80, 85%, but I would say 40, 50% max came out of the ground. Of that 50%, I would say 50% of them were eaten by cutworms. So you got a plant this tall, and all of a sudden you see that the stem got snipped and it's just laying there dead. And they don't come back from that. So luckily the spelt kind of took over, as you can see in this field. That is the one, kind of a lonely faba bean plant growing, and it's not doing that well. So I was quite distraught, actually, because this was a 100-acre field, and we had another 200-acre field of faba beans that we were going to silage. We had to go in with a drill later and seed peas and barley in just to cover the ground, because just not enough came up. So I phoned Dykstra. I'm like, why is it that, I obviously this wasn't that great a seed because only half of them grew. But why did the ones that did grow, why did the cutworm get them? Like we were growing on a low brick seed. And I'm like, well, I treated my seed with all kinds of good stuff to help promote that seed growth. But he's like, yeah, but if the original fuel tank source was not good, it was not grown on a high bricks plant, it just did not want to take off. So that's kind of what we seen. So we ended up harvesting with a combine. We cleaned out the faba beans. They had to get cleaned twice. They went through the the seed cleaning plant twice. We ended up with 95% germ on these faba beans, and I think it was 85% vigor, which is, I thought, well, it's better than what we got, I guess. So the next year we seeded them, and I seeded the same rate, 2.5 bushel to the acre. And this is kind of what the field looked like when we were swathing to silage them. Those faba beans were this tall. They were up to my chest. As you can tell, plant population is really good. And I think it did 11, 12 ton an acre of silage. We're feeding that right now. And I mean, milk production is pretty good. So yeah, it's this is probably my best example of why I think farmers, if you can, is there seed growers in here? Plug your ears. Keep your own seed, farmers, if you can, as much as you can. It's important because if you don't get that good start, you're you're not going to hit the ground running. I mean, it's like coming off the starting blocks of a race, a little on the slow side. You got a lot of catching up to do, and it takes generations. I mean, this is just an example of just one generation. Now, if I go keep some of that for seed and seed it again, grown biologically, grown healthy, how much more can we improve? So, I mean, we had the same thing this year with peas. We grew two different varieties of peas. They're both a green pea. One was like a marrow fat, and one was a regular green pea. Bought the seed. Um, we treated it with the same things, seeded one day apart. The marrow fat pea grew up, I would say 80% germinated, but it never took off. It never grew and covered the weeds. The field right across the road, same scenario. Those peas were this tall. So seed quality matters. I mean, I know those two lots came from different farms. I don't know which farms because they came from the same supplier, but different farms. So it matters what you grow. And if you don't start with a good quality seed, it's just going to kick you in the pants all year. So yeah, that's what I got to tell you guys. Any questions? I guess not.
I can ask my question while we.
Yeah.
How do you measure the bricks in the seed?
I don't know,
Okay.
but I would say test weight has a relation to that. The test weight of the seed. So if you're buying 66 pound per bushel wheat, generally it's probably was a little higher bricks. Not always, but generally. Yeah, you need to check the bricks of your growers.
Well, my question is a little bit related to that. Is like, so if you're looking for good quality seed, then is testing the bricks of the seed lot itself, is that going to give you an indication of whether you have a nutrient dense seed to give you the result you're looking for?
I think I would look for, like, if you can test the seed lot, like the seed that was the crop that was grown the year before when it was growing. If you knew say you went to Justin's because he's a seed grower and he should listen to this part. But you went to his field, you tested his wheat, and he was at 13 bricks. You know, you're past kind of most of the problems on the low end of bricks. You buy seed from him, you should probably get good quality seed. And he's using biology now, so he's going to get better quality seed because good biology will end up in that seed. But on the seed itself, I mean, vigor test probably has something to do with it, but I don't think I think it's probably somewhat like a soil test that can be precisely ambiguous. There's definitely information in it, but not 100%. I send them to a lab generally. Depends how much time I have. Sometimes it's like, oh, if I just test it myself, I'll know right away.
I see you're doing intercropping. Have you ever tried like varietal intercropping? Uh, Same plant family, different varieties.
No, we've never done that. Probably just because we never had the need to. And with the dairy, we try not to mix things up too much because you're trying to control what's going in those cows too. Ready for coffee? One thing I do want to say actually is thanks everyone for coming um, and listening to this information. I mean, it's new information for some of you, but I do have to say we need to give a round of applause to Cindy and Greg. One reason I've always loved working for Cindy and them is that they're willing to share information. They're not trying to keep knowledge to themselves and be smarter, but they want everyone to network, to communicate, to share information. I mean, that's why they have this conference. They get farmers up telling their stories, and I just have a huge appreciation. I think we need to give them a round of applause.